Folks, I like that
Folks.
word. Folks.
That's what a lot of politicians say. They go for the folks at home.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what? They don't say, you can't say men or women. They say for the folks at home.
It's a good word for Obama. Folks are hurting. Folks aren't sure how to pay the bill. That's what folks are doing.
Folks are feeling the pinch.
Folks are feeling the pain. Folks, it's definitely a lot of politicians use it. It's kind of a homey thing. But folks, we have a super guest today on super fly on the wall. Carol Leifer is with us, who's a mainstream of comedy from 1981 or 2. She was on David Letterman, and she's worked as a stand-up and also, David, her writing career.
Huge writing career.
Seinfeld.
From Seinfeld to Hacks presently, where they're winning Emmys over there.
Curb Your
Hacks is always
Enthusiasm.
doing well, yeah.
Good friends with Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld, and she has some interesting takes on their relationship. Teaser alert.
She has a book out, Dana. It's called How to Write a Funny Speech for a Wedding, a Bar Mitzvah, or Birthday, or any other event you didn't want to go to in the first place, by Carol Leifer. We laughed a lot during this one because she's a stand-up that you knew in the old days. I've known her recently, and I just saw her at the Laugh Factory, actually. So very funny, great storyteller, exactly what we want in this show.
Yes, and also one last thing, the sort of famous season of 1985, she was there writing, and she'll talk about
at SNL.
Robert Downey Jr. at like 19 years of age, skating down the hall and stuff like that. So it's really fun. She's super likable. I've known her for longer than I want to remember. I'm now doing
years.
Please enjoy the one and only Carol Leifer.
You mean the set that I did for The Tonight Show?
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit of a saga because, Letterman saw me on the big New York Laugh Off.
The Laugh Off.
Yeah. Because, in our day, that's how you got people to pay attention to you. You did contests. And he saw the big Laugh Off. That's the one where Eddie Murphy came in 5th and I came in 4th. Yes. So he had seen me on the big Laugh Off, and he recommended me to Jim McCawley, as you know, the talent booker for The Tonight Show. And then they passed. And then probably when I saw you, Dana, they saw me again and they passed. And I auditioned 22 times until I finally got The Tonight Show in 1992, right before Johnny left.
Never even heard of that. That's that many times I've never heard of that.
Over a decade? Or what's the time frame of the 22 auditions?
I would say from 1980 to 92. But what was happening also was, it is that, I was doing Letterman a lot during those years. So Tonight Show also saw me as a Letterman act. So that stood in my way. But it just became like, I don't know, should I wear a dress the next time? Okay. Like it just became a bit of like, okay, I guess I'll go out there again.
And it's always McCawley?
It was always McCawley, yeah. I mean, you remember how powerful he
of course.
Great and powerful odds.
I didn't even try. They just like, you don't got it. Don't even audition. Just, Well, I was doing characters and stuff, and they like jokes. I was just going to ask you from a personal point of view, what kind of stand-up in your head were you in 92 compared to 1980?
Well, I was much more, you have 12 years of experience, as you know. I mean, you get better every year. And at that time in New York, I mean, you guys didn't come up in the New York scene, but you could do 8 sets on a Saturday night. between the
Well, I don't do that in a year.
It sounds preposterous, but it's true.
Yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah.
You know, with all the different comedy clubs. I mean, you'd have, you know, a 7:10 here and 8:15 here. It just went on and on and on. So I just was a better comedian. But wait a minute. So Dana, you never did the Tonight Show with Johnny?
I did, but I came out as a guest from Saturday Night Live. I never came out behind the curtain and did that terrifying thing. What I want to ask you, two things about those days.
Yes.
Did you ever say, and step on it to the cab driver in New York? And did you ever get so good that like Leifer's here? Like you, because I think confidence, you know, Eddie Murphy had peak confidence at 19. He has it now. There are certain people, Sandler, took me a long time. But when you get the confidence, it's fun. Do you ever walk in and go, I'm the shit, man. Fuck you people.
I've heard her say that.
Okay, two questions. Step on it. I'm about to have a baby. Okay, go ahead.
Step on it was definitely something. And I learned in many different languages to communicate with all of the cab drivers. But I think by 92, you know, I remember it was just, I had done the New Year's show with Leno before. And I just feel like they kind of felt like, oh, we got to put her on. I mean, this is ridiculous already.
It's such an omission at this point. It looks weird.
And who were your peers? It was Elaine Boozler.
Who were your female peers,
female peers
at the time?
Elaine Boozler was actually not my female peer. She was before me.
Yeah.
And I got into stand-up because one of the big reasons was because of Elaine. You know, I'm sure people have talked about on your pod that.
Not really enough.
Not that much. No. Yeah.
She was the top, the female stand-up that when I was in those early days, she was it.
She was on the cover of New York Magazine and, you know, funny girl. And it just kind of changed. I was like, oh, if this, you know, woman can do it, like maybe I can do it. I remember Seinfeld and I talking about that cover. It had an impact on him in wanting to go into stand-up because it was a new type of woman and person going into stand-up.
Yeah, the 70s is when it all kind of shifted in what was allowed. And then lately, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but we have a lot of our great women comedians, or call them comedians.
It's all about the same now, but it was more differentiated.
And there's a liberation of really being as hardcore as the men. It's just been a shift where the audience, you know, the women are more, they can be sexual, they can step outside the lines. But you were kind of riding that wave, and you had Phyllis Diller. But not Phyllis Diller. She's a little more back there. Joan Rivers was quite a, you know, she was sort of body and intense.
Yes.
And
Joan Rivers was great, but I think what differentiated her from my generation was, you know, it was a very like, am I right, ladies? You know,
can we talk, right?
Yeah, can we talk? Elizabeth Taylor dog.
She said 5 facelifts and a boob job. Please, can we talk? Can we talk? Barbara Bush is not sexy. Can we talk?
I mean, Barbara Bush. Was Rosie O'Donnell around then, or was that a little later?
Rosie O'Donnell came a little after me, but you know, my peers were like Rita Rudner and Paul Stone. But I remember with Rita, because we went on a Catch a Rising Star together, you know, in those days, they wouldn't put two women on after each other. It was like
horrifying.
You know, like, okay, there's the singer, then the ventriloquist, then a woman, the monkey act, and then another woman. You know, it was just.
How are two women on the same show? That's revolting to the audience.
It was revolutionary.
I work with Rita. She was a linesmith. She could write great jokes. It was just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. She is one of the all-time best joke writers for sure.
Really good joke writer.
Yeah.
Maybe underrated because I don't hear about her enough because I worked with her for a week and I was new and I just kept going, wow, this is, you know, really, I was like, it is just bam, 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 bam. Interesting delivery, you know, interesting persona.
Yeah. Yeah, she works a lot. She gets a lot of the corporate gigs that I want to get. We got Rita.
Oh, good.
Sorry, we got Rita.
Vegas.
All right, let's put that out into the universe.
Corporates are fun.
Yes.
juicy, corporate. She's clean. She's funny. She's likable, and she'll go for pictures afterwards without any complaint.
CEO's kid, even if it's not part of the deal, can we take a quick picture? Yes.
You're kind of like this lane because you're still here and you started there and you're getting more famous than your resume. Like I only found out this week, and I want to talk about it because there's a whole documentary briefly just about your work as a writer while you were being a stand-up. And I don't know what your one was before the 85 season on Saturday Night Live, which did you? Yeah. Okay, so let's just talk about that a little bit, how you got the job and have you seen the documentary about it?
I have seen the documentary.
Okay.
What is unaffectionately called the weird year of SNL.
Yeah.
85 when Lauren came back. And I remember I auditioned at the comic strip to be a performer, and Al Franken, the great Al Franken, and
sorry,
and Jim Downey, as you know, famous head writer, came for a showcase, and I did well. And they came over to me afterwards, and they were like, "Would you want to think about being a writer?" And I was like, "What I want to be? Yeah." So I lived in California, and they said, "Well, come in and have a meeting with Lauren." So I came into New York. So all ready for I had it all planned, an hour of what I could say to, prospective questions, blah, blah, blah. And it was literally, Lauren was auditioning talent in that big kind of like studio room in Broadway. I don't know where they held the auditions. It always looked like where they would audition dancers for like a chorus line, and 2, 3, 4, and but and I came and they said, "Okay, Lauren's going to meet with you now." He came outside the door of the audition room, and he said, "They've said very good things about you." I said, "Oh, thank you." And the job. I don't do a good Lauren impression, so somebody could do this for me, but.
Go ahead. Let's guess what he said. The job is not easy, but you'll find it's exciting. It's that thing of like you're going to find your voice this year, and then you'll go on to like much bigger things. We like you. Go ahead. Something like that.
How do you like New York?
Well, it was almost exactly like that. Except you have been told that Tuesday nights are late and you work very late. And I went, yeah. And I went, okay. So it lasted about a minute.
A minute long meeting.
And then I was hired. Yeah, it was I love that documentary about the year because it was crazy and it was nutty. But I still, I always like to tell young people, we wrote longhand on yellow pads. And then you'd give it
me too. Yeah. I say that all the time.
Yeah. So that was it. And then I was really the only woman writer that year. But, it was amazing, like Murderer's Row of writers. Like Smigel was an apprentice.
Whoa.
Yeah, I always teased him. An apprentice means you need to wear goggles in the writer's room. John Swartzwelder and Jack Handy and George
Meyer
and Don Novello. And it was just amazing. But I've had a lot of stuff on. I have to say, I look back and it was like, I wrote a lot with Franken. We did this sketch. Quirky. Yeah, this Tom Hanks sketch, a lot of people don't know, as you guys know, you can write a sketch and have it at read through. And if they pass on it, you can bring it back a few more times. And
it's a little stinky, but you bring it back.
Yeah. And then Tom Hanks finally, put it over the finish line.
Who was your cast? I can't remember.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit for people who don't know. But this pivotal year was the first year that Lauren came back
right
after leaving with the seminal cast of all time. in 1980. His first year back. So a lot of pressure. Lorne is back. We've had the Billy Crystal, Martin Short, Christopher Guest year. We had the Eddie years with Joe Piscopo. And now Lorne Michaels is back. So who was on that show? Cast.
Well, it was Dennis Miller, of course. Who I think, yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the call. Shout out, Leifer. Okay. Good.
You did. It was Nora Dunn, Joan Cusack, Denitra Vance. Then the guys.
Was it Terry Sweeney?
It was Terry Sweeney. It was Randy Quaid.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Anthony Michael Hall. Robert Downey Jr., who I just saw at the Oscars.
Did he remember? I mean, but surely he did, right?
Oh, yeah.
He goes, hey, Carol. What, all right.
It's like, I remember you skateboarding down the halls of the 17th floor. It was, they talk about in the documentary, Lorne hired actors more than comedians. And it's that sort of, and Lovitz was a cast member, and he did really well that year. I think he and Dennis and Nora were the only people that were brought back after that.
Survived the fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, do people know this? At the end of the season, some sketch, I was watching it live, and then all the cast had to go into a fire, except 3 of them didn't have to go into the fire. I mean, it was who wrote that? Al? Were you and Al?
I wish I remembered who wrote that. It was. And then do you remember when Madonna came back the next year to host? She apologized for the entire 85, 86 season.
Like a Dallas kind of thing?
My first
like
time
a dream?
in the studio. She was our cold open.
Oh, that's right.
And you were there, Dana.
That was your year. Was your audition in one of those chorus line rehearsal rooms like I saw them?
No, I just, real quickly, I had auditioned at the Comedy Store in like 20 people with no MC in the original room. And I followed Kennison at midnight. Before I went on, they said, SNL is here. I don't think it was Lorne, but SNL is here.
Oh, nice.
I bombed so bad. And Al Franken saw me at the Punchline. I just bombed and bombed. And then show came around again real fast. I just went to Igby's. You remember that little 100-seater?
Yes.
Rosie O'Donnell was headlining. I got a hold of Jan Smith. I said, Lorne Michaels will come see me, because we had the same, my manager was managing him. I was with Bernie Brillstein and Brad Gray.
Yeah.
So then I met Rosie, who seemed like just like so confident in New York and everything. I can't believe how young we both were, but I got to do 40 minutes. Lorne came, brought Brandon Tartikoff, and then Cher. And I got 40 minutes in front of a regular audience instead of 5 following Kennison. And that's kind of how I got the show.
Wow.
Did Cher do 5? How was her set?
Cher came out and she had like a sequin dress on. And she goes, half funny.
Half funny?
Instead of half green? I don't know.
I like it. Yeah. Do you believe I'm 74?
She's kind of reaching with the Leifer pod. I don't know what's
she
going
gets it.
on.
When did you audition, Spade? When was yours?
Thank you. I'll take this question, Dana.
Yes,
I'm going to stay quiet because this is riveting.
Funny story. I was born in... No, I'm kidding. Going too far back. I went with Schneider. It's funny because you were mentioning New York clubs. I've never played them, and they had us audition off a Young Comedian special. They brought us in to audition at probably Catch a Rising Star, if that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And on a tough night, and they all came in, from Downey to maybe Smigel to maybe Franken to not Lorne. I don't think Lorne is there. But I remember it was me, Schneider, Tom Kenny. I always say this like it's negative to Tom Kenny. It's not negative to Tom Kenny. He was a San Francisco act that was very, just broader.
I knew him well. SpongeBob. Then became SpongeBob, and he owns most of Nevada.
Yeah.
But anyway.
He's so rich. But Dennis Miller was there too, and he was helping. And, before I went on, I told Dana, he goes, Spud, you don't want to, kill too hard. They don't want some polished fucking road hack. And I go, so don't do good? He's like, all right, 3, 2, 1. I'm like, wait, Dennis, what? So anyway, I took his advice, did not do well. His advice was the right thing. It just, in the whole complexities of it all, I didn't really get it. They were just really looking at the writing of the jokes for me to be a writer, maybe a performer later. I thought it was to be a performer. So I'm like, yada da, I give him the whole John Bonet routine, really amping it up. And then afterwards, I got off early because I said, I think I was supposed to do 20. I did 12, maybe. I think Schneider went off early. But Tom Kenny did do very well. But Rob and I got the call to come in and write and perform.
Oh, wow. But you thought that night you hadn't done well, right?
I just knew it was a tough night, but it was pretty sparse, and it was probably 15 from SNL and 15 people. So regular people. So they don't laugh a lot, but they're just looking at sort of, it's the same way I am now. I can watch a comic and even if not killing, I almost don't hear it. I just go, ooh, that was a good one. Ooh, like I like it. Who cares if they like it? I was like, I think that's good and well written or something about it. You can tell, like, name that tune in 2 jokes. You go, I think this guy's got some game.
Yes.
And so you know how it is. So at a certain point, that, but at that point I didn't. But luckily some of the jokes, they kind of liked how I put them together. And that really got me in as a writer that was not ready to be a writer with my legal pad.
Would you have liked to have been a cast member, Carol? Did you ever think of that or audition for?
I think, well, the weird year, it was like, I don't know that I want to be a part of.
Well, what do you say?
Just throw yourself in the fire at the end.
But, I feel like that year I had one foot in and one foot out because I really wanted to concentrate on my stand-up. So, yeah, I don't think I just on the weekend, weeks off, I'd be doing sets and all that. So, yeah, no, certainly, maybe if I had been on a more successful year, I would have dreamt about it. But
do you ever feel weird about taking a stand-up bit and putting it into a sketch? You feel like you're kind of wasting it and it's a selfish decision to go, do I try to get this on there and then I can never use it again, but it would help here?
Yeah, I didn't really have that fear because, as you boys know, you got to get stuff on.
Yeah.
Or it's a very bad feeling there,
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm not getting things on.
To say the
And
least.
people start ignoring you and it's like, oh no, they go, you're not even a formidable opponent here. You're just, yeah. You want to get on. So it's, of course, goes into the show if it can.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I always felt like if I had to take for my act, dig away. Because if it keeps you alive at the show.
100%.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, but people don't think of that. But it is a weird thing goes through your head. You're like, because you're running out of ideas quickly.
Yeah.
Every host looks the same, and you're like, wait, I got this guy. And the next week it's Corbin Burnson, and then it's I think I had
Corbin
Candace
Burnson
Bergen.
was there when I did it.
Yeah, he was. I think he was an overlapping
Great
one.
guy. I think he was the third host. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And funny.
And I just, sorry, I'm show dropping the Oscars a couple of times.
Please do.
John Lithgow was presenting this year, and I saw him, the writers hanging out in the green room, and I saw him and I said, you guest hosted the year that I wrote on SNL. And he was like, oh, he was very sweet. He was like, oh, you must have been a young child when you worked there. I said, yes, of course, Carol Leifer. But no, I told him that, he was such a great host. He learned every writer's name that week. And he was incredible. And he remembered the sketch that we had written for him.
That got on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he was amazing and still is.
Did you ever? So, what other? Can you tell us about the Oscars? You were at the Oscars.
You wrote on them.
Yeah, I wrote on the Oscars.
And you wrote. So Conan's team brought you in, or whatever. Or
how does it work? Yeah.
Team, and then this is my 11th time. I was part.
Is there writers that come with the
you
show?
Wrote a lot for the Oscars over the years. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you baked in, and then Conan can bring some extra people? Is that how it works?
No, Conan has his own team of people. And then there's a show team that I'm part of.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys know this guy, John Max. He's the head writer of many, many great. He's the guy to go to for your award shows. And
Okay.
yeah, and then
Is Valanche in there?
no Bruce Valanche, but yeah, it's a good group and it's fun. You guys know it's fun writing.
Of course.
Jokes.
Well,
Conan's
who's
fun
the
guy.
greatest host that you've written for? Probably don't want to say. Did you write for Billy? Did you write for Billy?
Yes, I wrote for Billy a couple times. Billy's great. I'm going to say on this podcast, they've all been great.
Oh,
I loved Billy's
Ballsy.
Broadway songs about the current movies.
I do like that too.
Nora, she's annoying, Nora, I'm a wicked man. You know, I mean, it's so, but Billy was just great host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was the first one to go into the movies and be like, they'd use the actors of the real movie. He'd be inside of them.
Yeah, he was in an
Yeah, that was funny as shit. Yeah.
I love those. Yeah. Well, Troy Miller used to direct.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved Conan's Substance parody. How funny was that?
That was because for people who haven't seen the movie, he crawled out of in the movie. Demi Moore sort of becomes a walking corpse or like a monster. Anyway, he climbed out of her backside. I mean, to start the 119th Oscar show, his head is. I mean, it was definitely catching. It was like, okay, we got something different here. Yeah.
But even I loved his musical number was a lot like. It reminded me of the great Billy stuff too, like that.
He was. I thought he did great.
I thought for Conan, it was a little edgier than normal for him to say like it's halftime. Usually Kendrick would be calling Drake a pedophile. I'm like, a pedophile joke is kind of a lot for the Oscars and Conan. I was fine with it, but I thought, oh, good. At least he's out of the box a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It was. Look, funny is funny, but
yeah.
I agree that
I'm just surprised sometimes they tamp down a few things at different shows. You know, they go, I don't know if that's what we do here, that kind of thing. But at least they're saying, hey, it's getting harder and harder to get people watched. Let's just go crazy. Some of these things pay off these days. Like, get out there and shake it up.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. It's fun to have more free reign. It's hard to get jokes killed. It's like, come on.
So just so the people familiarize, so you wrote 12 times for the Oscars. You wrote for Seinfeld. I mean, can we talk about that a little? Has Jerry changed? Has Jerry changed? we know him pretty well. We had him on the podcast.
Yes, I heard it. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jerry, he is a great guy. He made all my dreams come true a couple of weeks ago because I was in New York. And as you can see, I'm a big Beatles fan. I have.
Don't get me started.
Did you go to the Bowery or something?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Wow. How great.
Yeah. And not only did I go with him to see McCartney at the Bowery Ballroom, but afterwards there was a little after party and he introduced me to him.
Ooh, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah. And he said my name. He said, hello, Carol. And he kissed me on the cheek.
Whoa.
He kissed you on the cheek?
Kissed me on the cheek. Yeah.
He doesn't do that too
pretty
often.
Huge.
I know. Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I know. So
she seemed like a really nice lady, you know. So I gave her a pecker on the cheekies, you know, just to kind of cheer up the whole room, you know. Then David Spade came over. You know, I just gave him a fist
buzzkilled
it. Not as impressive as Carol.
Well, you guys, I have to say, would you say that, so as far as musical living legends, I'd say McCartney, there's Mick Jagger, there's a couple, but those two definitely could be the top two, or I'm sure I'm spacing on some people, but Ringo, I mean, if you're in the Beatles, you're up there, of course.
Yes.
And Mick is just a worldwide phenomenon of, legend. So who else is up there? Like it's still, because when you see Paul, you just get like shook a bit.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you about your introduction to the Beatles and your lifelong love affair, because we're in the same age group. And then to meet him later on. But to me, I'm sorry, there's just the Beatles, and then there's incredible bands, Zeppelin, Stones, Pink Floyd, and then, go on, Eminem. But there's just one Beatles because there's just too much music and too much revolutionary things going on. So were you a classic, I Want to Hold Your Hand in 64, or when did I see you? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I was lucky that...
Yes. The whole ride.
As a little girl.
As a little fetus.
Yeah.
I was introduced. No. I have an older sister who's 5 years older and a brother who's 11 years older. So I heard their music a lot as a kid and remember the Ed Sullivan Show, them coming on, going crazy, what a happening it was. It's hard to explain to people how revolutionary their haircuts were. I mean, that it was like, what are these?
Just the haircuts alone shot them up the chart.
Haircuts alone. But then I was lucky enough in 66, yes, 1966.
Oh, yeah.
My brother was home from University of Chicago, and the night of the Beatles concert, he said, because we lived on Long Island, hey, Squirt, you want to go see the Beatles? And I was like, yeah. And we drove to Shea. We got tickets that night. My sister, who had gotten tickets 6 months before, she was like 4 rows in front of us. It's like, how did this happen? And saw the Beatles at Shea State.
At Shea State. That's a legendary.
Big thing for a band, rock and roll band, to play a giant.
They have 2 PV amps.
Right.
Dana, wasn't it some shitty sound or whatever?
I think they only did 30, 35 minutes. They couldn't hear themselves. The roar of the crowd, they just couldn't,
Oh, yeah.
But
just not. Love it, though. How great. Oh, my God. What a part of history.
If you had a not famous Beatles song, like what is one of your favorites? I'll throw out some. She's Leaving Home, and I Love Her. No Reply.
And I love her.
Hard Day's Night. I Want to Hold Your Hand, which I think that She Loves You is a masterpiece. It's like 2 minutes and 5 seconds. But are you kind of a Strawberry Fields or are you Penny Lane? You have 5 seconds.
I kind of am very wedded to their early stuff because it reminds me of the Mania and of first seeing them and all that. So like I saw her standing there, that early stuff, but I'm also a Wings fan,
Yeah, me too.
So, and I just worked with Lawrence Juber, who was like his guitar player in Wings. So I run the gamut, with McCartney.
Did you tell McCartney you saw him at the Shea Stadium?
What'd you say?
Did you tell him you saw him?
No, I was too...
he would have probably freaked out. That he doesn't hear that every day.
Yeah. But he was talking about, they didn't... people couldn't have their phones that night at the Bowery Ball.
At Shea Stadium?
Bowery Ball. No.
I brought my landline.
2025 is calling, Spudley, okay?
I know.
But it was great because and to watch the show, because we were up in this little, it maybe has like 300 people in the whole place. But to watch a concert now with people not having their phones, it was such a joy because it's like, oh, right, people actually experience it and not wanting it for later.
Right. Yeah.
It was incredible.
Were you sitting or was it standing room only? Was it sitting? You get to sit.
The VIPs like Jerry and his +1 were up on a balcony, on top. So we were standing, but you wanted to stand. Everybody was standing. There was no...
Well, you stand every song anyway because it's a hit, so you stand up anyway.
Yeah.
Every song's a hit, basically. Can I do a clumsy kind of forward thing? Because during the peak of the Seinfeld years, and how many seasons did you write on that show? Or 3. Yeah. I think they were in the Rolling Stone, almost like they got so big. There's only the Beatles, but they were almost like a Beatles sitcom. Yes. And always interested in the dynamic between Jerry and Larry, because that this partnership. And so how did you get hired for that? They just already knew you, loved you. They knew you from Letterman, and you were was that an easy kind of?
Well, we really go so far back as to when I auditioned at the comic strip along with Paul Reiser and Rich Hall.
Paul Reiser.
Wow.
Yeah, Jerry was the MC and he put us through the audition. And then when I auditioned to Catch a Rising Star, Larry David was the MC and he put me through that audition. So I really go back to my first days at these clubs with them. But what happened with Larry and Jerry was weird because I remember I got a call from both of them and it was like, why are my friends calling me together? I mean, in 93, that was probably like, conference call, like they had to, be on the same phone, but it's like, why are they calling me? And they were like, hey, do you want to write on Seinfeld? And it's like, yeah. But my advantage was, and I think other writers' advantage was, they didn't want people who'd written for sitcoms before because Larry hated all other sitcoms. So they wanted people new to the task. So I was lucky that way. So that's how I got hired.
It was such a, interesting sensibility on that show, how it was kind of just about little things. And everyone knows the soup Nazi and the puffy shirt. It's like trying to catch the wind. It's even now with Curb Your Enthusiasm these last 15 years. It's like, what is that sensibility about? But it really pops. The cast was super likable. But there's something about the writing that is so smart and subtle and well observed. So that's just that's the best writer's room on a sitcom in history. I think I'm not shitting on Cheers or anybody else, but I think it's gotta be.
Well, as far as it worked, it just worked through the roof. And
our greatest half.
I think Cheers was more considered just a great sitcom, and Seinfeld was a little off kilter, not just a sitcom. It was like sort of a different thing going on there.
What is the thing about Seinfeld with it? What do you think made it go so huge?
In a lot of ways, it was like SNL to me because you had to pitch your ideas to Larry and Jerry. You would go in and set a time to go in, and it was like 2 sentences kind of max, like I went in, Elaine thinks the Korean manicurists are talking about her behind her back at the nail salon, and that kind of thing. I would go, yeah, we're doing that. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. And then you'd pitch other ones, and he had this habit of like rolling his shoulder and going, no. I could see that on another show now,
Does he say expand in the room? Like some ideas are a little more than that. Like he'll go, I like it so far. What else is on there? Or just go write it.
Yeah, he would be like, if he liked something like that, or like Elaine thinks there are skinny mirrors at Barney's. He would go, yeah, I love that. But, come back with like a George, a Jerry, and Kramer story, that kind of thing. But it was the same thing. Like if you pitched ideas and it was a lot of, no, I don't know, you sort of get anxious about it. But when he liked something, he was so effusive about it. It lifted you to go off and do it.
Right. Exciting.
I do think, and let's go back to the Beatles here.
I'd love to.
What made the show great was the two of their sensibilities together. I always call it kind of like Lennon and McCartney, Jerry, the more kind of pop sensibility, friendly stand-up. Right. And McCartney. Larry being more the Lennon, the curmudgeon, having the edge, and that together it made it lightning in a bottle.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
That's interesting. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
And even working on Curb, I know Larry so well from Seinfeld that it was the same thing at Curb. You'd go in and pitch ideas, and he would love them or not like them. But when he loved something, he always Like, I remember the first time I pitched him Curb Ideas, I said, you know, when you are with regular people, and by regular people, I mean not comedians, and you make a joke and one of them goes, but-bum, you know, that's how you want to strangle them, you know, like, you know, the equivalent of saying the N-word, you know,
yeah.
and he was like, he loved that, you know, so when he loves something and you're on a good roll, you can.
For sure. How
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
You wrote on so many, though. I've been looking at, you did Modern Family, also Hacks, right?
Yes, Hacks just won an Emmy.
Hacks is a big deal, of course.
Yeah.
I think I saw Hannah at that party the other night. I don't know her, but I think I saw her walk by. Is she possibly taller than I would think? She seemed like, I thought she was tiny.
And isn't it amazing that she's Lorraine Newman's daughter?
Yeah.
I did not, I didn't even put that together for so long.
Yeah. And sometimes when she delivers lines, it's like, I totally.
Oh, yeah. Love Lorraine. I saw Lorraine at the thing.
Oh,
the 50th. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dana, were you there?
No, I had the flu.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
so I missed it, but I've already thought about just what I'm going to do on the 60th.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great.
I thought about the 100th, what I'm going to do.
Keep it a little quiet.
Keep it real on the.
Don't start getting curious, Leaf.
When people say "ba-dum bump," I literally, it's like cutting your balls off. It's such a weird move to say this is a bad joke, you're stupid, and then they look cool or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all weird vibe.
And he loves all that small stuff. Like, he loved, I had a pitch about, you know, when you pitch something to TV people, execs, and they go, you know, I don't love it. I don't like it. It's like, nah, I don't love it. And, you know, that's the kind of thing he sparks to, like, immediately.
I felt like a story. When that's in the ether, now when I'm out and there's a situation, I almost think of Curb. I was out somewhere, and this might even be an episode, but I said bye to everyone. It took me forever to get out to the front and say bye. And then I forgot my keys inside, and I go, I'm not going back in. I cannot go through there again. And just that awkwardness of like, I just left, but they think I'm coming in I ditched them or something. And so it just made me think that's one of those weird things that makes you think of that show. You go, I could picture him in some awkward situation. It's just, but every episode I watch, I think, oh, this is such a good little weird curveball, like just everyday thing, but they make a whole meal out of it.
Yeah, when you see stuff like that, like the puffy corduroy pants, looks like he's excited. Okay, we'll build a whole episode around that. And you go, it's so simple. It's so funny. Everybody knows what he's talking about. But
that story, he would have totally made something about that. Totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you talked about the SNL 50th, like ad nauseum, Spade, or?
Well, not really. I mean, it's funner with people that have been there because we talked a little bit about it, but what is your experience of it? You can say anything you want.
Oh, well, I wanted to know, I was only there for the concert, so I didn't see.
What did you think of the concert?
Concert was amazing.
Yeah.
Even with my shitty seats, it was amazing.
I think everyone I talked to had shittier seats than they thought they were going to have.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I'd have a better view at home.
I said, Lovitz, were you at the American Girl store for that too? He goes, no, I was at Banana Republic. That was very close to Radio City.
Jealous.
Yeah, no, the 50th was a blast to just goof around, but the weekly events of that was that night, what you went to, which was, I think, more fun than people thought, and then the next night there was like a little toast thing, and then the next night was the show. So I did get a lot of it. That's why I wasn't at the party forever the night of the show, because I think it was a Sunday, and also I just done everything with everybody all week, and I thought there's a 3-story party. I don't think I could do it that long.
Yeah.
Did you go to that thing or did you skip it all?
Well, the next night, the Saturday night was the Writers Guild Awards.
Okay.
And we won for Hacks.
Oh.
Hacks never, because doesn't kind of Don't they win kind of everything? I mean, they
They
win
win
a
a lot of
lot.
stuff.
Well, I'll say this past season we sure did.
Yeah.
Where's your
Well-
hardware? You got a hardware back there somewhere? I mean,
Yeah, you should throw it right up there in that cabinet.
I do have an Emmy, but it's in the other room. But I'm
I think it needs to be on camera. Also, is it interesting
It's in the
you
other
go
room.
from SNL, you go to Seinfeld, and you're like, everywhere feels like it just couldn't be as good. Then you get on a show like Hacks, it's a great show, and you go, okay, that feels good. Modern Family's a great show.
yeah. No, it's
It's a good streak.
huh. So when shows are really good,
What's the common
there's one
denominator?
common denominator, but I'm not. Let me just
I
think.
wonder what it is. What would it be?
Start at Carol King. No. But anyway, I mean, you must be proud of. I mean, it is pretty cool how many great shows you've worked on. So clearly, you're a valuable commodity, and I would like to negotiate whatever your next deal is. Personally,
You
I'm
know
not going to push.
You guys know as well as I do, to be in a room with other funny people is just, it's just the greatest. I mean, as much as I love stand-up, and I saw you recently, Spade, at
That's right.
Night. There's nothing better to me than being in a room with funny people. It's just the greatest thing. It's like, I always think it's like, you know, you go to a foreign country and say you're there for like a month, like Italy, and you know, everybody's speaking Italian and nobody speaks English. And then like an American comes in and you're like, oh my God, you know, and you just bond with this person. To me, that's like with any comedian, there's always this kind of just instant bond. And yeah.
I'm always happy if I'm at some event, then I see a comedian or a comedian I know, and that we're just going to look at it all differently and trying to
just clown on everything going on. That was the same thing. I went to some Oscar thing the other night and zip right to the comedians and then just sort of make fun of the whole situation.
Exactly.
It's the only comfortable spot.
But that's why I like sketch, just because I was a stand-up and then I had never done sketch comedy. So then it was like, oh, you say that, I say this, we're working together. And then, of course, you get funnier if you're in a writer's room and people are starting to riff. Your brain gets kind of associative into this, everything's funny. Or how about this thing? Oh, how about this? So I think I totally relate to that. If someone wanted to see, I said, Carol Leifer is a great stand-up. What would you want them to look at?
I would say probably
some of your 25 Lettermans or special
I don't
box set.
You know what? I really have a great affection for my first Letterman, which was in 1982.
Ooh.
Just because, you know, your first time, like, oh my God, I'm on TV and people are seeing this and what I dreamed about. To me, that's like my most precious kind of memory because it was the first.
Yeah.
You
to
never
me,
have
it was Fernwood Tonight. And when I came out and saw, no, that was, does anyone remember Fernwood Tonight?
I
Martin
do.
Mull and
funny it is.
Yeah, kind of a parody of a talk show.
Yeah.
Did you ever work with Wendy Liebman?
Yeah, this is like the perfect setup. I'm working with Wendy Liebman on March 20th at Comedy and Magic Club.
Oh, Comedy Magic, how great.
Yes, also with the great Kathy Ladman. So 3 funny ladies all together.
Yeah.
I see Wendy. Are you
she's great.
Publicizing it as 3 funny ladies or no? Or just it's a comedy show?
I think they're calling it the Ladies of Laughter.
Oh, the ladies of the night.
Dave and I go out as the pipsqueaks of funniness.
The pipsqueaks twinsies.
2 little pixies with a dream.
We just did a corporate together. It was pretty fun. We never done one. It was pretty fun.
Right? Yeah. How much time did you have to do?
Well,
Dana kind of tinkered with that.
This is inside baseball, but we kind of like, as a stand-up, well, I love being out there with a friend just riffing. So I said to the guy who's in charge, I said, because they wanted 45 each, you know, and it's hours in a ballroom, all that. And I said, how about we do 30 each or 25 to 30, and then we come out together and just sort of talk to the audience and they yell stuff out. And he goes, you would do that? Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm not going to try to redo the deal. But we will come out without a script or our act, and they're
Yeah.
yelling out Garth or Tommy Boy, and we have shit.
Yeah. It's a little chaotic, but because we threw it at them late, if we could have had a microphone up there or something, but it's just fun because they also want to see a picture of us together or so, whatever. We're out together, and it made it more fun for us too.
That must have been a great gig.
Yeah, it was super fun. They'd never had comedy, and they were like, "Oh, this is great." So,
well, the sound was good. It's really
Yeah.
important. The
sound is great. That is important. You don't hear muffled jokes.
I don't go to sound checks, but Jay Farrell played the night before some casino in West Virginia. I go, you need a sound check. How was the sound for Jay Farrell? Oh, it was great. He loved it. So then I go out. First thing I hear is a huge slap back. Hello. I can't stop the show and do a sound check, so it's difficult.
You think they do a show every night? You think I think they know what they're doing, and then you go, oh, they don't. It's
Can I tell you a great story about Joan Rivers with that kind of stuff?
Yes,
we would love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I had a corporate gig in New York when I was coming up. And they had booked Joan Rivers to just open the show and introduce me and leave. So I get there, before her, obviously. And, like you guys, you don't travel with your agent or manager for these kinds of things. So I show up and I see that there's no spotlight. So I say to the guy, the tech guy, I'm the comedian. I see you have a mic, but you don't have a spotlight. And he looks at me like, oh, sorry, we don't have your spotlight share. I'm some diva. It's like, no, people need to see me in New York, and he just like blew me off. It was so brilliant. So then Joan Rivers gets there. She says hello to me and she goes, where's the spotlight? And I go, I know. So, and the tech guy was like hanging his head in shame. She literally went on stage and she was like, she did her bit, cue you doing your Joan Rivers impression. But she goes, listen, I'm going to bring on the next act, but you be very nice to her, all of you, because there's no spotlight and it's very unprofessional. And it was amazing. I mean, I love you, Joan Rivers. May you rest in peace.
We've all had these situations. I was in a club once and I asked them to turn up the mic for the second show because I couldn't, and they just turned it down. I mean, it's like just aggression and anger. Sometimes the club owner is a frustrated stand-up and kind of hates you. It's like, so we turned it down.
You can't get laughs out there. We're like, oh, I don't think they can hear me. Oh, is that why? And I'm like, yeah, that is why they can't hear me. People are yelling, I can't hear you.
Did you like the clubs on touring or going on the road, or did you just do it, or were you in condos with other guys and ventriloquists?
The comedy condo was the worst experience of my life ever. I did a gig. It was in Phoenix. It was a comedy condo. I was doing it with my friend Sue Kalinsky. We get there. And we go to this disgusting comedy condo, and there's the other guy there, and like,
disgusting
here if you want to go, whatever. So about 7:00, Sue and I get ready. We're getting ready to go to the gig, and we yell up to the guy. Well, it's we're an hour away from showtime. If you want to come down now, we're going. And the guy comes down. He's like, "Oh, I'm not a comic. I just live here."
Oh my God. Never heard of that.
Condo, had just one of their friends living in one of the rooms. I mean, if you don't call 911 then, I really don't know what.
Just
oh my God.
For people so you'd go to these cities and instead of putting you in a hotel, they'd have a comedy condo. And there was the main room or the headroom. And if the
headliner
for the best place with its own bathroom. If you come too late, the ventriloquist is in there with Chuck Wood. You can't look at his puppet.
Wood.
Don't even look at Chuck Wood. Don't even David Strassman, I think. No, I'm kidding. But
openers get the couch sometimes.
They're a unique breed. It's not a joke. That is definitely like that Anthony Hopkins movie. Chuck Wood was real. You must have worked with a lot of.
Before it gets too late, fellas, can I promote my new book?
Yes, let's do it now. We're wrapping up.
Oh my God, we should. We'll put it in the intro too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's How to Write a Funny Speech for a wedding, bar mitzvah, graduation, and every other event you didn't want to go to in the first place.
That's a good title.
So
Come on, it's going to fly the show.
That's a good title. I like it.
So that is literally instructive and also humorous, but actually trying to help people with that process.
Trying to because
say the title again.
How to write a funny speech for a wedding, bar mitzvah, graduation, and every other event you didn't want to go to in the first place.
Okay, I like it, and I want to ask you a question. So, has no one written this book? Because I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no one has. I wrote it with my comedy writer friend Rick Mitchell, and no comedy writers have written a book like this. A lot of stiffs, from the corporate headquarters, or whatever, have written it, but no,
not funny people. Yeah.
Right, we're tired of going to events where someone just stinks up the room with their horrible speech, and we felt like we could give them some help.
Well, that's the number one fear, right? It's public speaking, or it's way up there. So
yes, and most comedians' greatest fear is not speaking in front of them.
How sad.
And obviously, I just want to. If people want to get this book, you just go on Amazon. It'll be on that.
Yeah, it's there. Amazon. You can just click
a few buttons. Yeah.
And if you don't remember the title, you can say Carol Leifer book.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Carol Leifer book.
Very easy. Oh, I wanted to ask you, Spade, because when I saw you, I loved your bit about Amber Alerts.
Yeah. I got an Amber Alert, I think, that day. That was new. Got an Amber Alert, Dana, and I just want to know how much investigation I'm supposed to be in charge of. What is my job here? What are my duties? If the kid isn't laying on my dashboard,
that's it.
I feel like the search is over. It's a cold case.
That crushed it the day.
Oh, yeah, I did it the other night. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's new. Thank God, because I got one that day.
You were killing at that point. I just said to the guy, I go, can we get him off now? I mean, I think he's over his
Give
time.
him the light. Yeah.
Can we just, is it okay to give him a light? I mean, I don't want to push, but yeah, because you were killing so hard.
Danny goes, actually, I got a light. I'm going to run the back rope.
You always want to sabotage your friend if you can.
God, there's guys at the Comedy Store. They get the light and it means now start your act. Because I'm like wrapping up. And they're like, what else is going on? I'm like, there's no, what else is going on? You're doing your last bit and getting off. Not like,
what else is going on?
Let's go into the crowd. Yeah, what else? I'm like, you're done. That should be a special. What else is going on?
What else is going on?
Sounds like that's a good special.
That is the best title.
What else is going on? All right, Carol, thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Congratulations on your career, your book. Nice to see you. You're always, she's one of the most likable people that in the scene. Mm-hmm. I think you have that reputation, but I'm always happy to see you. And you're very kind. I'm just going to say it.
I just love you guys. You're both so incredibly talented, and I enjoy your talent.
This has been a presentation of Audacy. Please follow, subscribe, leave a like, a review, all the stuff. Smash that button, whatever it is, wherever you get your podcasts. Fly on the Wall is executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Jenna Weiss-Berman of Audacy, and Heather Santoro. The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman.